Brazilian. So how would you explain, why would you say no to chance and accidents? That's what I'm trying to get at. Go ahead.
Because that's clearly the product of design. I'm saying people are not...
How is this clearly a part of design?
I cannot finish one sentence.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Carry on.
That is clearly the product of design. And I know the fact that it's been designed by humans. My reference to evolution simply attains...
I'm not talking about evolution.
I was talking about evolution.
Then you're having a wrong discussion, I'm sorry. I wasn't talking about evolution either.
You just said there has to be a designer.
I didn't talk about...
Yes, you did.
My friend,
it has to be a designer. Evolution is a classic example of what you claim to be design.
The origin of cosmos, the stars, do your evolutionary theory talk about it?
The origin, I don't believe there is an origin of the cosmos. I don't believe that there is a designer.
Can you, with your evolutionary theories, explain the cosmos, the stars and the galaxies?
Evolution explains the existence of us, not of the existence of
Right,
galaxies.
so you're in the wrong discussion. I was talking about the whole of this universe with the complexity, the stars, Planck's constant I mentioned, gravitational constant I mentioned. Are this part of your biology? Excuse me. When we're talking about...
Who made the design? Who designed the design? See what the answer to that.
When we talk about the Planck's constants, gravitational constants, we're not talking about biology, we're talking about physics, we're talking about mathematics, right? So unfortunately, as you see, some of our friends, our brothers in humanity, they come along because they're atheists by their own ideology. They want to bring what we call a comfort zone, which is evolution of the living things, and impose that to everything else. But when you really examine it, that's why you had to leave, because the stars have nothing to do with Darwinian evolution. Nothing to do with it. So when we examine the life, the complexities of the natural world, the stars and the galaxies and the planets, the water cycle and everything, we are quite clear in one thing, that there is clearly design in there. People out there, they don't want to admit it. Because if they admit that this design, you know the consequence of that is they don't believe in God who designed it. So they can't say there's a design. That's what's stopping them. They will say there's an illusion of design. So if you find a human being with an eye better than the camera, they will say the camera clearly demonstrates design, but the eye doesn't. When the eye is better than the camera in many cases. The brain is better than the computers. Okay? Because we are the ones who made the computers. But they will say the computers design, but not the human brains. So this is coming from the reluctance to accept the overall designer who is the creator of this universe. This universe, if it was by itself, with no self-awareness, no wisdom or intelligence, it couldn't have done anything. Let me give you an example. Have you ever made coffee or tea? Right. In your kitchen, if there is the cups and you've got a freezer or a fridge in which there is milk inside it, inside the door is closed, and you've got a sink and a tap, you've got water, and you've got a, what you call a cooker or something, that you can put on, a kettle or an electric kettle maybe. Have you ever seen the coffee being made itself? The fridge door opens, the milk comes by itself, flying around, comes to the cup, and it pours the milk. And the sugar from the cover up there opens, and then spoon goes to that container and takes, how many spoons do you take? One. Takes precisely 1 spoon of sugar in this and starts stirring, and then it's ready for you. Have you ever seen it happening?
No.
Never. We've never seen it happening, and we probably will never will. Why? These things requires intent, planning, design, purpose. If you have a robot, you can program the robot to fetch everything and do it like that, right? Bring it all together, and then you make you a coffee, no problem, or a tea. But if there's no intention behind it, your milk will remain in the fridge forever and ever and ever. They will never come and put you in your cup. The sugar will remain in that pot, and 1 spoon will not come in your cup. And so is your water and the heat and so on and so forth. What that demonstrates is if the universe has no consciousness, has no will, no self-awareness, it won't be able to make anything of this cosmos, anything. Because all of this, it requires intent. Intention to bring them together. You know what happens when I get a cut, when you get a cut in your hand? Yeah? Your blood cells, like your platelets, they run towards it, and then the fibrinogen and fibrins, they come together and form a meshwork, like a whole systems of clotting, okay? So that leak that happened is sealed. Now, if it was nothing as a chance, nothing will come and nothing will do. But there's a program there already established which is doing that. This is just one example of a design in our human body. Throughout the cosmos, there are clear evidence of designs like this. Whether it's in a tree, how the water from the ground defies gravity and goes up. Because gravity means pulling down, right? This water is sucked in through the roots all the way to the top of the tree, right? Because that water is needed up there, right? For photosynthesis and so on and so forth. Defying gravity. Clearly an evidence of design. But there are people among us who don't see it, because if they call it design, then there is a consequence of having a designer. And that's why people don't want to accept it. So there's an Arab proverb which is very simple to understand. An Arab Bedouin, you know Bedouins, right? The Bedouins in the desert who have camels on the left side. So one of the Bedouins said, in the famous proverb, that the camel droppings point towards a camel that was hanging about here. Because that's where it came from. It didn't come from the goat, or it didn't come from fallen from the sky or the stars. Camel dropping is from a camel. The camel dropping is evidence of a camel being there. The footprints on the sand, human footprints, is an evidence, it's a direction indication of a traveler which went that way. It wasn't the sand and the wind and the humidity and the temperature somehow made those prints. Clearly evidence of a human being walking there, it's a human footprint. It says the earth, the stars, the skies, all of this and the working, integral working between themselves is an evidence of the one who created them. Even a Bedouin can understand it. But yet people somehow, for some reason, they want to come away from this belief in this creator when the evidence is in front of them all around. So when you said you haven't got a particular belief in something, the evidence is all around. This is why in the Quran it says, God says, we will show them our signs, our evidence, within the horizons and within themselves, within ourselves, until it becomes clear that this is the truth. So we are told in the Quran that there are people who doubt and dispute that you will be resurrected back again for another life. Okay? Some people believe this is the only life and that's it. When you die, your bones are rotten or your flesh is rotten and that's it. That's the end of it. When the Quran or the creator of the universe is saying, no, that's not the end of it. There will be another life. You will be resurrected again, given life again, and there will be a day of judgment where you will be judged for what you have done. Did you actually fulfill the purpose of what you were created for or not? And there are two places. Whether you go to a place of eternal happiness, joy, tranquility, bliss, or you go to a place where it's suffering and torture for those who reject the creator and the purpose of their creation. So, up to you. It's your choice. So the creator says, you doubt your resurrection? God is able to bring back like the very tips of your fingers. You might ask, why is the tips of your fingers being mentioned? Why is it so special about to be mentioned, that tips of your fingers? God is saying He will recreate you even to the tips of your fingers. Do you know what's so special about tips of your fingers?
None of the same.
None of they're the same. Unique fingerprints. That's why we use in our forensic science. So God is saying, look, your fingerprints are unique, and He's going to bring you unique again in the hereafter. He's going to recreate you once again. Okay? That's how easy for it. God created you the first time. God created us. Obviously, He created other creations before. He created the angels before He created us. He created human beings, which are slightly different from the angels. It's not about evidence. We are talking about when you ask why He created, right? If I were to give you evidence for every single thing, then we will not be even discussing anything. So I'm now talking to you from the belief standpoint. God created the angels with no free will. I already given evidence about the creator already, which obviously you overlooked. The angels do not have the ability to disobey God's commands, meaning they don't have that free will to disobey. When you make robots with a particular program, they only do what you program it. Angels are like this, programmed to obey God. Human beings are created slightly differently. Human beings have been created with a amount of free will. where we can exercise our free will and we can choose to obey God or disobey God. Up to us. Of course, God tells us, it's better for you to obey God because God has created you for a purpose and there's going to be consequences of obeying and disobeying. But if you don't want to, it's up to you, but with the detriment and consequences that you have to face yourself. Okay? So, and we see people, as my friend earlier on said, I'll see you there in hell, meaning he's okay, he wants to choose a path that is going to take him to hellfire, he's okay with that. That's his choice. But God tells us he doesn't wish people or like people to go to hellfire. Right? He created us, showed us the two ways. Whether you're grateful or ungrateful, two ways. The way that leads to paradise and happiness and joy in heaven, or the way that leads to hellfire, torture, suffering. Which one should we choose? God says choose the one which is better for you, heaven. So he constantly reminds us and shows us and encourages us and shows us why we should do that and tells us abstain and shun and evil, reject the ways that will take you to hellfire. Do not walk in the footsteps of Satan. Satan, who became so arrogant and then he went away from the path of his Lord. And he says, look, because now I'm doomed, I'm going to take every other human being with me. He asked God for this permission. Okay, make me live until the end of this world so that I can do that. He said, God, okay, but you will not be able to mislead people who follows me and my message. Okay? You can mislead those who listen to you. So clearly, we can overpower and overcome Satan. Clearly. Satan comes and whispers you to do all the things which are evil. Evil things. The Quran says when you start reading the Quran, seek refuge with Allah, God, from this accursed Satan. You'll be surprised. Some people say Satan is the author of the Quran. And this book says, may God curse Satan when you start reading the Quran. And the book says, this book cannot be authored by Satan. Satan is your plain enemy. He's the one who commands all that is evil. God commands you all that is good. So clearly, we can see how Satan comes in this play. So yes, Satan comes and whispers people, and they don't have full control of human beings though. They only do whispering and suggesting. You can get rid of this by simply saying, you are Satan. What you just said, what you've done, this is totally wrong, not right, not true. There is one creator, and I'm going to obey this creator alone. I'm going to listen to this creator. I'm going to worship this creator. There are people who say, but what about my people? What about my God, the elephant God? What about my God, the monkey God? What about my God, the man God, or the woman God, or the daughter God, or the sun God, or the moon God? There are people saying, why don't you follow my religion? I'm talking to you as a Muslim, right?
So if I'm an atheist, do you think that I must follow of Satan?
If you're an atheist, you're a follower of your own desires, your own self. So you have your own desires, which is directing you to do whatever you want to do. So you've taken your own desires as your ultimate arbiter, ultimate guide, ultimate decision maker, right? Allah tells us in the Quran that there are some people who've taken that, their own desires as their own God. Because a God is anything that you give your gratitude and thanks to. Any object that is object of worship. So some people, how they love football stars and pop stars, this is a kind of worship. When you say, I am the only one, I'm not going to listen to anyone, I follow my own thing, then you're actually making your desires like a God in that sense. You're following your desires, your own thing that your desires tells us. But the problem with following your own desires is this. People throughout centuries have been following their desires, and they have come up with conflicting things, messages, ideologies and teaching. Some people saying my desires tells me that you are black people, you should be dealt with. You are the evil on earth and we need to annihilate all of you. Or vice versa, white people and so on. There are people like this, the KKKs, or the black people who have said, look, everyone. In fact, some of the people in this park say, you white people, you're the devil. On this park, you'll be surprised. And they carry an iPad. They're digital, in the digital world, they carry an iPad and say you're the devil person because you're white. What can I say? May God help us all. So yes, people have taken their own desires in various ways, and they have invented ideologies and teachings which you clearly know cannot be all right. So if you're an atheist, you know that now there has to be a creator of everything. It only makes sense that there is a creator for our universe. It only makes sense also that this creator is one and absolute. One and absolute. With consciousness, or when I say consciousness, possessor of life, will, energy. Why do I say one? Let me give you an example why I say one. Because some people might think, why not 2 or 3? Do you drive?
I don't drive, no.
Okay, you've been in the car.
Yeah.
Suppose you're in a car and there's 2 steering wheels, left and right. And there are 2 drivers. One is me and one is the other driver, right? I'm going to take the car to North in Birmingham. I don't listen to anyone else because I am independent. I'm absolute. I'm self-sufficient, right? I don't care what other people say. I'm going to drive independently this car to the North. The other driver is also independent of everyone else, including me, right? He's a driver. He's got all the control of the car. He says, I'm going to drive the car to Portsmouth. Where's the car going to go? Possibilities, right? Car doesn't go anywhere. It goes to the north, it goes to the south, or goes somewhere else. If it goes to the north, like I did, then the other driver failed to take and steer the car wherever it's going. You can't have this car going in both ways.
I have a question.
Later. Or you can ask my brother there, right? You can ask my brother this question if you want to. Yeah, please go ahead, yeah? My brother is much more knowledgeable than myself. Please speak to him. So.